Mr. Speaker, I'd like to yield 2 minutes to my very good friend from Surfside Beach, Texas, Dr. Paul.
The gentleman from Surfside Beach, Texas is recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you very much. I ask unanimous consent to revise and extend my remarks. And Mr. Chairman, I appreciate very much the yielding of the time. I am very pleased to be able to support this rule coming to the floor, and pleased that it's an open rule. We will have a chance to debate housing. I think it's a very important debate. We've had this debate going on now for several weeks in the Housing Committee. Unfortunately, as far as I'm concerned, the debate has not keyed in on the real important issue of whether or not public housing is a good idea. This particular piece of legislation does very little than juggle the bureaucrats in hopes that it will do some good. Public housing started in 1937 with the U.S. Housing Act, and we have been living with public housing ever since. In the 1960s, in 1965, HUD was created, and since that time, we have spent literally hundreds of billions of dollars. We have no evidence of any sort to show that public housing is a good idea. It causes a great deal of problems and actually takes housing away from many, many poor people. But it costs a lot of money and costs a lot of hardship to a lot of people. The principle of public housing is what needs to be debated. Hopefully in the general debate and in the debate over the amendments, we will be able to direct the debate in that area. One thing that I think our side, the side that I represent, that is the free market and the constitutional approach to housing, we have, I would grant you, have done a very poor job in presenting the views on how poor people get houses in a free society. Since we've had 30 years of experience, and there's proof now that it leads to corruption and drug-ridden public housing projects that don't last very long and cost too much money, we ourselves, who present the market view, have not done a good job emphasizing lower taxes, less regulation, a growth economy, sound monetary policy, low interest rates. This is what will eventually give housing to the poor people. But I think it's very important that we not construe anybody who opposes this bill as being one that has endorsed the notion or rejects the idea that we should help the poor.
I'd like to yield my friend an additional minute, Mr. Speaker.
The gentleman is recognized for 1 additional minute.
I thank the gentleman for yielding. The one other point that I would like to make is one of the arguments in favor of this bill is that it's going to be saving some money in the bureaucratic process. But if this is the case, one must look very closely at the CBO figures, because last year the HUD budget took $25+ billion. This year, with this wonderful new program, we will be asking, according to CBO, $30.4 billion, an increase of about $5 billion. And this isn't the end, it's just the beginning. So this is an expansion of the spending on public housing. By the year 2002, it goes up to $36 billion. So the best I can tell is that we are working on the fringes. We are not dealing with the issues. We're not dealing with the principle of whether or not public housing is a good program. I, for one, think we can do a lot more for the poor people. There are more homeless now after spending nearly $600 billion over these last 20 years than we had before. So I'm on record for saying we must do more, but we can do more by looking more carefully at the market. Thank you.
Gentleman's time has again expired.
Thank you. Gentleman from New York.
I would yield 2 minutes to the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Paul.
Gentleman from Texas is recognized for 2 minutes.
I thank the chairman for yielding. Mr. Chairman, it was mentioned earlier that we have two visions about the housing program. And unfortunately, I see so little difference between these two visions. One, I see that the bureaucracy is centralized, spending a lot of money and not doing a very good job. And the other vision is that if we decentralize the bureaucracy and spend even more money, that somehow or another we will improve the public housing of America. But I do want to challenge the statements here that all of a sudden something is being cut, because the way I read the figures, actually we're increasing the amount of money. And that should satisfy some opposition, but it wouldn't satisfy me if we're spending more money. We're supposed to be spending less money. But according to the CBO figures, we spent $25 billion last year on HUD funds, most of it going into public housing. And this year, the proposal is that there would be $30 billion. And as we look at these figures on out, By the time we get to the year 2002, we're up to $36 billion. So that there are no cuts. There's a 20% increase this year. So I do not see how these funds are being slashed. I would like to see the funds cut and spent a different way. I think private enterprise is a much better way to build houses. There's no proof that this 30-year experimentation of $600 billion has been worth anything. I mean, we've spent $5 trillion on the war on poverty, and rightfully so. There's a lot of people complaining that there's still a lot of poverty, still a lot of homeless, still a lot of people not getting medical care. And I think that's true. But I think it represents the total failure of the welfare state. It's coming to an end. And this, unfortunately, no matter how well-intended, and the gentleman from New York, Mr. Lazio, has done tremendous work and has worked very hard to improve this situation, I wished I could share his optimism. There's no reason, my friends, to be optimistic about this bill, if it's passed or not passed. We have to address the subject of how we deal with this problem.